Oh, hi, there you are. I'm glad you're here. So listen, your unknown project is coming up very soon. I want to give you some pointers on how to create the flow chart so that your life can be a lot less stressful during this project. If you come the first day with a flow chart already prepared, you'll be ready to go. Come on, I'll show you how to do it. So in order to get started with your unknown project, you're first going to need to prepare a dichotomous key, or what we should really call a flow chart of all your possible reactions. You're going to get a list like this to print out, and you're going to need to shorten this list because you'll notice there's a bunch of bacteria and they have really long names. So in order to shorten this list, what I've done is place the letter coinciding with the alphabet beside each one of these bacterial names. So in the first one, you'll notice Actinomydura madurae has the letter A. I follow that down this first page until I reach P at Proteus mirabilis. The second page then would start with Pseudomonas aeruginosa on Q and end with Streptococcus pyogenes and Z. Now I don't really have to focus on writing all of those names out in length. I will simply use the letter as an identifier for each one. The next step is to create the actual key. In order to do that, we need to ask a series of questions. The first question we'll ask in any bacterial identification is, what is its gram reaction? So let's go ahead and write that at the top. And you want to make sure you leave yourself plenty of room to answer these questions. You have two possible gram reactions in this project. You have gram positive and you have gram negative. In those categories, we have two other possibilities that could exist: gram positive bacilli and gram positive cocci. By the same token, you have two other morphologies that exist for your gram-negative reactions, and again, those are gram-negative bacilli and gram-negative cocci. So go ahead and write those out. The next step we need to consider is, how can we determine which are which? And this is where the letters will come in handy. Notice I want to group each of these into their own individual categories. So I see A, B, and C are all positive bacillus. So now I can list those right under the positive bacilli category. I also notice as I go through my list, there are several gram-positive cocci: H, U, V, W, X, Y, and Z. The gram-negative cocci are fairly easy. There's only three of those, L, M, and N. However, there are several gram-negative bacillus. And as I write these down, I want you to keep in mind that this master reaction chart is not exactly as the one you will receive. Yours is going to be different, but the principles that you see me using here, I want you to apply to the chart that you're going to get for your project. As you can see now, I have all of these categorized by gram reaction, positive or negative, by morphology, bacilli or cocci, and I've included the entire list now on this flow chart that I'm creating. The next thing you want to do is look down the list and determine what test should I use in order to break these groups up into smaller groups. I've decided we're going to do the gram-positive cocci category, and the test I'm going to use to determine this is sucrose. So all you do is make another heading, put your sucrose test, and then what you want to do is list all of the possibilities for the reactions. So looking back on this chart, I notice I have several possibilities. One of them is positive with gas, one of them is a positive reaction, and the other one is a negative reaction. Follow along on your master reactions chart and determine which one fits in which category. Notice H is positive with gas. U, V, X, and Y are all positive and W and Z are negative. The next thing you want to do is break up these categories so that they're all individualized. You want every bacteria to be by itself. I've already done that here with H, so I'm going to put a box around the H so that you can see I'm finished with it. Let's do W and Z next. I want to pick a test that will determine the difference between W and Z. I've decided on citrate for this one, so I'll just make another heading and I put citrate. I have two possibilities for citrate on this, either positive or negative. I see that Z will give me a positive reaction while W will give me a negative reaction. Again, I have completed that by individualizing those two bacteria. So let's move on to the next category, UV, X, and Y. So a good test to determine UV, X, and Y by looking at my chart I see is mannitol. Keep in mind, guys, when you do this, you want to try to pick tests that break large groups up at least by 50% or as close as possible to 50%. Notice on this mannitol test, I have singled out U and X as having positive reactions and V and Y having negative reactions. So I basically broke that small group up 50% on this side, 50% on that side. But I'm not finished yet. I still need to individualize these, so I need one more test for each side. I've decided that citrate will work again here, so I just simply create another category for citrate. Let me explain that you do not need a separate citrate test for this. You're only inoculating a single bacteria into this set, so you only need one citrate test. If you've got a negative reaction over here, you will also see a negative reaction here. But in using the citrate test in both locations, I have now individualized two more bacteria, X and U. The last set that we need to work on is V and Y. For my key, I've chosen maltose. Maltose will give me two possible reactions. Either V would be positive and Y would give me a negative reaction. So as you see, what we've done here is taken this category of several bacteria. We've created basically a roadmap. The purpose of this, folks, is so that when you see your gram reaction and you notice, hey, I have a gram positive cocci. If you bring a flow chart to class with you on the first day of your project, you will already know, after you've identified gram reaction and morphology, you simply need to order these few tests, sucrose, citrate, mannitol, and maltose, and you can identify all of the bacteria in that category. So I'm going to get you started on one more, and then you're going to be responsible to finish the rest of it. I'm going to start to break up the large group of bacilli negative, okay? One thing that a lot of people get really scared of on this is using a multiple test media. I'm going to show you, though, by using a multiple test media, you can take a very large group and break it up very quickly. So the first test that I've chosen to use for the gram-negative bacilli is Kligler iron auger. So I'm going to draw a long line here because I have several possibilities of reaction. I'm going to then list those possibilities of reactions out just like I did before, only you'll notice I have several more. So for example, I have positive and a negative reaction, a negative positive reaction, negative positive gas, and so on and so forth. All I do is write down all of those categories, give each one of them a drop down, and then we're going to categorize them the same way that we did before. So all of the ones that are negative, positive, negative, that's two of them, D and E. Then we have the negative positive category that will give me S and T. The ones that fall under the negative positive gas are F, G, J, and K.
Positive gas is simply I. The O and P would fall under negative positive H2S. And I have one more remaining, R, for all of those various reactions, a negative, positive H2S, and gas. So notice what I've done here. By that one simple test, I've already individualized 2 bacteria, and I've broken the other remaining group up into much smaller manageable pieces. From this point, you can do a few more tests and have the gram-negative bacilli category broken down and individualized in just a few minutes.
Okay, so that's basically it. Now you've seen an example on how to do a flow chart for your unknown bacteria project. Keep in mind, your flow chart is going to be different slightly from the one that I did. But now that you understand the principles behind it, you can knock this out with no problem. See you soon.